Du stehst neben mir, doch du wendest dich von mir ab. Blicke treffen sich, doch Worte werden nicht gesagt. Es ist noch nicht vorüber, so viele Worte nicht gesagt, so viel noch nicht besprochen, so viele Taten nicht getan. Neben mir, doch du drehst dich auch nicht um. Blicke treffen sich, doch die Blicke bleiben stumm. Es ist noch nicht vorüber, so viele Worte nicht gesagt, so viel noch nicht besprochen, so viele Taten nicht getan. Innerlich, da kocht die Wut, alles ist ganz kalt. Doch innerlich, da kocht die Wut, es ist noch nicht vorüber, so viele Worte nicht gesagt, so viel noch nicht besprochen, so viele Taten nicht getan.
Hello, my dear friends. It's a pleasure to see you again. My name is Operator Starsky. Also, hello, Will from Australia. and Adrian from Switzerland, and everybody else. It's such a pleasure to see so many people from so many amazing countries all the world. Today I will talk a bit about my experience of being a soldier in the Ukrainian army, and I'm not going to tell you my whole story. You know it already 100 times. It's been told 100 times. Also, you can find it somewhere on my channel on the previous videos, but I wanted to share my experience in terms of practical experience, because whenever a person decides to join army or gets mobilized, drafted, or recruited to army, the first question that emerges every single time is how hard it is. Will I be able to withstand it? What will I face in the army? And the reason I'm talking about it is because uh, we can see the slow but steady mobilization happening in Europe. And the reason it is happening right now out there is because oh, we have Stefan from Germany. Guten Abend. Um, the reason it is happening is because we are facing a big threat coming from Russia, and not just from Russia, but other dictatorships and terrorist regimes. And Europe is waking up slowly. Europe starts reacting to this threat, and eventually it may result in people joining armed forces of European countries, either willfully or not really willfully, right? And my experience is literally the experience of a professional soldier, a volunteer, not a mobilized soldier. Therefore, those experiences can be a bit different. But what I will tell you is literally coming from the standpoint of someone who volunteered to become a professional military. So I will most probably start with a decision that I made before becoming a soldier, and I took this decision while staying in Poland, and generally I was receiving medical treatment. I didn't have like severe wounds after the Revolution of Dignity. I had several traumas. I broke a tiny but very nasty bone in my wrist, and it was kind of bad. It was bad because it didn't grow back properly, and I had a trauma when I received a rubber bullet to my knee and everything related to that. But one way or another, I took this decision while staying in Poland, and generally speaking, I could remain in Poland in 2014 with my family. I could settle there. I could live peaceful life. I could find my relatives in Łódź and Łódź, sorry, and I could live happy and peaceful life today as a Polish person. But my friend got captured near Ilovask in 2014. That's why I decided to uh, enlist to one of the battalions. 2015, all that year I spent as a police officer in the Special Force Police Battalion, and late 2015, I volunteered to get transferred to the 4th Operative Brigade of the National Guards of Ukraine. Nowadays, it is known as Rubizh. It's a HOSTOMEL Brigade, and in order to get there, of course, we had to pass insane selection program. Out of approximately, I believe there was something like 50 people volunteered to go to this selection program with me. Our group consisted of 50 persons, and I believe that around 10 or something passed. 54 or 64, I don't remember exactly. It was like November or December 2015. And just a small number of us passed, and I was lucky to pass as well. I remember it was really, really hard to run because I have bad knee after the revolution, and at some point I jumped into like a tiny, tiny pit or like a bump on the road when we were running, because we did thousands of push-ups. We were humiliated. We had multiple alarms in the night, and it was crazy. But one of the officers who was with us back then, as one of our instructors, he said, "Dude, keep running because I have some big expectations for you." And like this tiny, tiny phrase motivated me to keep running. And in the end, I made it. So, first thing you realize when you become military is that it's a completely different life. If you had experience of working in a civilian company like me, because before joining the army, I spent most of my time working in communications. I was an office plankton, basically, you know it. It's a completely different life. It's a completely different culture of communication, because within this community there are specific rules, there is subordination. If you can go and play poker with your boss after the end of the working day, or have beer together or things like that, and call him, like, I don't know, Bill, right? In the army it's a completely different thing. It's impossible. And also there is strict chain of command. It's impossible to take decisions based on decision of a majority in your unit. Doesn't work. There is no democracy in the army. And this is why army is so superior. But you find yourself in a completely different environment, different culture, as I already said, different values, absolutely different values, and things that you didn't even think about while being a civilian person. Um, Literally, like being able to lie down whenever you are. In the army, it doesn't exist as well. So, of course, it's very different for privates, sergeants, and officers. And I will talk about it as well. But for privates, generally, it's you don't have a lot of responsibility. You have very, very minimal responsibility. But I would say that your primary responsibility is to literally stay alive. Um, as an officer, you have a lot of responsibility. As a private, you do a lot of physical work, whether it's in the training camp or in the field or during deployment. There is the heck a lot of physical work and not a lot of responsibility. As an officer, you have a lot of responsibility, not too much physical work, and as a sergeant, you have a lot of both. So I was a private. I was assigned as a machine gunner just for a while. Then I was assigned as a rifleman to the infantry company, 1st Infantry Company. We had a lot of training. One of the first pictures that I found of my specific company is right here. As you can see, a lot of our guys were very, very young. So the average age in my brigade, in the infantry company, was between 21 and 23 years old. And comparing to other brigades, it was something incredible, because in other brigades we could see all kinds of people, all kinds of age categories, like today, for example, at the front line. But in my brigade, there were a lot of young guys, less than 30, younger than 30, okay? And that is, by the way, our training grounds in Stare. It's a huge territory with all kinds of different terrain, a lot of sand, a lot of ants, but it's so good because there are forests, there are swamps, there are rivers, there are hills, there is a desert, there are all kinds of terrains, right? Yeah, most shark, that is HOSTOMEL, guys. That is the very, very first company, very, very first infantry battalion in the HOSTOMEL Brigade. So those training grounds, that's the place that I love, I hate. I spent probably years there. And it's just so good because it allows you to master movement in all kinds of environments, crossing rivers, crossing swamps, patrolling. There are tactical fields, of course. They are amazing, by the way. For our drivers could master driving tanks and armored vehicles in all kinds of environment, all kinds of terrains they mastered, and it was so good. Um, what's the next one? Yeah, I'll show it to you later. So we had a training, and our training lasted something like 4 months. We were learning basics of shooting tactics, things like that, movement within your squad, uh, operating within your platoon, um, and things like that. Cooperation between platoons within a company, cooperation between companies within a battalion, cooperation between different companies within a battalion tactical group, including artillery, including tanks. So it was really, really interesting. After 4 months of training in that training camp, we went to the international military exercise. It took place in Yavoriv. It was called Rapid Trident 2016, where we had a chance to train and operate together with our international colleagues. And you can see me wearing Miles. Miles is a system that helps you train. How to explain this? You have a vest, right? And you have this stuff that you wear on your helmet. And there, behind me, you can see a guy with a rifle. And on the barrel of his rifle, next to the muzzle brake, you can see like a box. And that box emits laser when you shoot blanks. So your OP4, the bad guys, and the bad guys in our case, they were Ukrainian paratroopers, airborne. They also had those Miles systems, those vests and everything else, and they were trying to beat us. So we had different missions. We had like wargaming, and their mission was to basically shoot us. Our mission was to shoot them. So when this rifle shoots blank, it emits that box emits a laser beam that, if he aims at you, you receive this laser beam that is, that is literally like laser tag, only in the army. And those Miles systems, they were actually very old. They were given to us by our American colleagues. They were really old, but they worked nonetheless. So it starts beeping. If it registers a laser beam, it starts beeping, which means that you were shot. Here the guys are helping to attach those emitters on our rifles and machine guns, and we also had there you can see boxes and you can see the RPG next to the boxes. That RPG also emits laser because you also have sensors attached, for example, to your BTR armored vehicle. And when you shoot an RPG at a BTR, you also have chance to destroy it. We had a lot of trainings. We had courses together with our Canadian friends who taught us about the IEDs, how to avoid them, and things like that. Of course, they were not teaching us demining because we were infantry. And this is important to remember. As an infantry, you don't need demining skills. If you learn how to demine as an infantry, it means that you are a very good potential corps, okay? Because you have engineers. Engineers specifically train people who train how to demine shit. It's not your task, okay? Yeah, sometimes infantry carries things like those tiny like anchors on a rope that you can just throw somewhere into the bushes and like drag and remove some of the booby traps. But that's maximum of what you can do as an infantry. As an infantry, demining is not your stuff. It's not your responsibility. When you see stuff, call engineers. They will do it, okay, instead of you. So we did a lot of maneuvers. We accomplished a lot of missions. Basically, we had a multinational brigade commanded by, I think, a Romanian guy or a Hungarian. I can be wrong, either Romanian or Hungarian. And why is it important? Is because my brigade of the National Guard was the very first brigade of the National Guard that was invited to such a military exercise. Before that, never happened. Sometimes they would invite like special force units of the National Guard, snipers, but we were literally a professional mechanized brigade in the National Guard. The only difference was that all the guys from the armed forces, they were supervised under the Ministry of Defense and the General Staff of Ukraine. We were supervised under the Ministry of Interior. That's it, literally. We were just as military as them. And you can compare us to Italian Carabinieri or Polish, French gendarmes. Same stuff. We were basically them. Okay. Why it was important to participate in such military exercise is because Ukraine was not a NATO member, okay? But what is NATO? Okay, we all know what is NATO. It's a defense alliance, but what's the principle? What are the NATO standards? Why were they made? The only reason, the main reason why we have NATO standards is to make sure that a unit from France, a unit from Italy, a unit from Romania, and a unit from Sweden now, right? They can cooperate in terms of a multinational corps, for example, or battalion tactical group. So that is something that we also did there, because our officers received necessary training in military planning, in MDMP, and we literally participated in NATO military exercise as one of the NATO units, factically not being a NATO country, a NATO unit. And it was successful, it was really good. Therefore, it was extremely, extremely important to participate in such military exercise. And the guys from the OP4 later, they also joined, and actually our paratroopers, our airborne assault brigades, they also participated in such exercises, just like we did. Of course, the tasks were a bit different, but in the end, we all did the same job. Here we we were shot in the forest, and when you are shot, the mile starts beeping, and when it starts beeping, the only way to suppress the beeping is you have that tiny key in your laser emitter, right, in your rifle, and you take out the key from it and you insert it into your vest, and it stops beeping. And of course, because you only have one key, it means that you cannot shoot, right? Like, technically you can shoot blanks, but you will not emit any laser. And then some of the guys should reset your vest, so he can like revive you, bring you back to life. So we were shot, and we were sitting there and smoking and talking. This is what we ate during the military exercise in 2016. All the provision was supplied by the United States, so we had things like that. That is American MRE. I liked it. Some of the guys didn't like it, and generally people are not really happy about American MREs. I liked it. To me, it was something new, something, interesting. Again, peanut butter, right? Peanut butter is so good. I don't know what is it not to like about MRE. Peanut butter, good. Cheese, good. Tabasco sauce, good. It's amazing. After the military exercise, we returned back to HOSTOMEL. Again, we went to the training grounds. We tried to use the experience that we acquired there over and over and over again. And then I became a sergeant. I didn't go to the front line as a private. I did it in 2015 as a police dude, but I got deployed as a sergeant already, and I got deployed as a sergeant of a company sergeant. So some more pictures, that is us during that training. And behind me, you can see the Kozak. Kozak is a Ukrainian armored vehicle. It's a good, not perfect vehicle that you can use to deliver personnel, but probably not to the positions, because it's freaking huge. Actually, Kozak is very big. It's very tall. It's heavy, and it's taller than BTR, for example. BTR is not tiny either, right? But Kozak is even bigger. But the good thing is, if you trigger, for example, mine, there's a big possibility that you will survive. Kozak keeps all the soldiers in the capsule. The seats are not attached to the bottom of the car, to the floor. they are attached to the top of the car. And when you run over a mine, the guys will survive. It is confirmed. Mud friendly, I would not really say so. We have a different car, it's called Varta. That one was even heavier, but kind of more modern, I would say. It was much better. I prefer Varta because Varta was much more mud friendly than Kozak. Kozak is not bad, but you can use it for like patrolling either urban areas or suburbs, or you cannot you cannot use it in like very muddy environment. It's not an off-road, really. Um, it's like it's a good car, but Varta is better. And Varta is also better because in Varta you can put a lot of stuff in it. You can literally put a whole squad of guys plus their things, plus water, plus ammunition, everything. Everything fits. And Varta is even bigger than Kozak. Kozak, not much things you can put inside, but you can literally bring guys from point A to point B using a road. And this road must not be too muddy or too slippery, because I've seen Cossacks getting stuck a lot. However, I know that they kind of improved it a bit after that. So it may be a bit better now. Here again, we're participating in those military exercise. Actually, it's really interesting. I found those pictures somewhere in the ass of the internet because I have them a lot in different places, and sometimes it's really hard to find them. I've had several photos, and it was really, really hard to find those photos from our selection program. Turned out that the guys, the instructors, they made photos of ourselves, and then, because I got acquainted with the officers eventually, they shared those pictures with us. And there was a picture of me and Sashko. We were two guys from my police battalion who passed. And unfortunately, Sashko died in 2017, but I still have those pictures. Couldn't find them for this stream. I'm sorry. I did my best. I searched in like 3 different places and on my iPad, but they were not there. And this is our company. You can see how huge is that Cossack behind the guys. And on the right, you can see the BTR. Again, behind the guys, they look like they're the same height, right? But actually, BTR is smaller because on this photo, BTR is like 10 meters closer to the camera than the Cossack. And the guys decided to fire up some kind of smoke, and it resulted, in half of my company remaining incognito on this photo. Anyways, yeah, but that is the end of Rapid Trident. Um, Being a private in the infantry battalion means that you have to carry a lot of shit. You're often used as a primitive brute force to carry things from point A to point B. 90% of time in the infantry, you're carrying something. You're carrying ammunition, you're carrying wounded, you're carrying water, you're carrying food. One time when we were on a deployment in 2017 or 18, either or, we had 2 positions, my position and Bogdan's position. And we had field ovens on both positions. And one time, our supply sergeant calls me and says, "Bro, you gotta switch those ovens." I'm like, why? Like, that is the most ridiculous decision I've heard since we have arrived here. Why should we switch ovens? He's like, well, because that oven is supposed to be on your position and your oven. So the orcs are like, I would say around 1,000 meters from us. And in the night, my squad and Bogdan's squad carry those ovens. We, like, our two groups go towards each other, and they throw their oven, they take our oven and carry it back to their position, we carry it back to our position. What was the point? I have no idea. But sometimes you can hear things like that in the army. Sometimes, now it's not the case, of course, but 2017, when my brigade became actually my platoon became the first platoon of my brigade that got shot at this deployment. Um, and we were shelled, we were shot at using AGS, the automatic grenade launcher, several times. They shelled us several times with 82 millimeter mortars, then several times with 120 millimeter, with SPG, that big rocket launcher, static rocket launcher. But at the same time, one of our officers receives a call from a different officer from the headquarters who says, "Can you please collect the round cases?" And our officer said, "Unfortunately, we can't, but if you want them back, you can come here and help collect them." And it was kind of cringy, but such things happen all the time. And like nowadays, we can think about it like collecting cases. What the fuck is this? But you could still hear such things. Of course, that officer who asked us about it, he didn't work long in our brigade. But again, different things happen. But as an infantry man, as a private in the infantry, you have to carry a lot of things and cope with some of ridiculous decisions or whatever, ridiculous situations in the army, but don't care much about them. What I wanted to tell about the infantry so of course, as soon as you arrive to the brigade and you start this training, in the beginning, you don't understand anything. In the beginning, you think that the war is like a chaos of shit and death. And eventually, during the process of training, you start to understand that actually the war is like a science. And you know that your enemy wants to disalive you, right? Unalive you. And in order to not allow this to happen, you have to do a lot of things to yourself, to your equipment, to your behavior. For example, you need to mask your stuff because when you move within your squad in the forest somewhere or on a patrol, but let's imagine that your squad is moving through the forest. Of course, you make noise. And if you don't want to make noise, if you don't want to attract your attention because your rifle belt sounds like a little bell, okay? Your water in your hydrator also produces sounds, or if you carry your water in a flask or something. So you gotta make sure that you have a tape to wrap around your carbines, your you know what I'm talking about. On your rifle belt, you know that you need to squeeze your hydrator and release all the air from it so it doesn't produce any noise while you move, and things like that. You have to mask everything that can shine or produce glare, your watch, things like that. And this reduces the chance of you being exposed and killed. As easy as that. So the science literally is to do as much things as possible in order to make the task of killing you for your enemy as hard as possible. That literally it. Okay. And of course, you need to understand you need to understand basics of shooting, how to use your rifle. Oh my God, in the brigade, we would sleep with our rifles. We would go to shower without rifle. Of course, we didn't shower with our rifles. We'd leave them like next to the wall, but we were always with our weapons, always together. We would sleep with them. We would put them in our sleeping bags because our cunning sergeants in the night would go inside the tent and try to snatch our weapons. And if we don't care about our weapons, then basically we don't care about anything. We don't care about our life. We don't care about the lives of our comrades. And that would result in us having to run a lot and do a lot of push-ups and suffer in the night if such thing has occurred, right? So later, when we became sergeants ourselves, we also did that. Your guys should hate you if you want to be a good sergeant. I think I failed with my test because my guys, they literally loved me. I think it was a big mistake. Therefore, unlike that, later I got commissioned as an officer, but it was my mistake. I cannot really be, like tough to the guys. We had guys who had proper qualities to be good sergeants. They didn't care at all, about like your feelings. They cared about your survival. That's the difference. But in my case, it was a bit different. Probably, I don't know, probably I was really tired of screaming and shouting at them, and sometimes I would gather in their tent together with the guys, and we would talk about things about like food, women, and everything else. I remember when I was a sergeant, I was stationed in the tent with our officers because I was a company sergeant. And I didn't really like to stay there. I would prefer to stay with the guys to make sure that everything is okay, listen to their stories. And I remember it was winter. I went to the tent of my platoon. My platoon, yeah, because I was platoon first sergeant, and then I was a sergeant of the company. And my guys were always happy to see me, and like, of course, you're happy to see your sergeant, and you would like to give him like cookies or tea or anything, or like a cigarette, because you want to be friends with your sergeant, right? And I remember that they had this like oven in the tent, and it was red. It was glowing red because it was winter outside, really cold, like -15 probably. And it was really hot inside the tent. And I was so cold and tired, running all day long and doing all kinds of tasks. And I just sat down on the bed next to the tent, next to the oven, and I closed my eyes and I fell asleep. And when I woke up, I found myself lying on the bed, and uh, my guys took a blanket and put the blanket on me, you know, like I don't know, I felt cared and loved, and that was the day when I realized that I probably suck as a sergeant. It's not supposed to be like that. When you're a sergeant, you're supposed to wake up with I don't know, the drawing of like a dick on your forehead, you know, because your guys must hate you, but it wasn't the case. Um, when your squad moves through the forest, besides paying attention to suppress all the sounds, to make as little noise as possible and produce as little visual, uh, you know what I'm saying. I like English words. You should not attract attention. You should have your face painted and painted properly, of course, when you're on a mission, because it matters a lot. Human face is something that we can recognize miles away. Psychologically and probably naturally, we can recognize human faces. Oh my God, wearing balaclava masks. You can definitely say that you can see a human face. When we don't see human faces, our imagination creates human faces out of nothing, literally. So we have to mask our faces as well, and it doesn't matter how hot it is outside. You cannot wear a t-shirt or you cannot roll your sleeves because it will expose you. You gotta wear your sleeve. You gotta keep your sleeves unrolled. You gotta make sure that nothing in yourself, in your silhouette, nothing reveals a person. Um, at the same time, when you're moving in the column, it's not like you can just walk behind your body, you know, searching for rare minerals in your nose, eating candies and thinking about boobs. No. When you walk, you do several things at a time. You're looking at the guy in front of you, you're peeking at the guy behind you from time to time, because again, as sergeants, we used to kidnap people when the squads were on the move, and then those squads had to suffer, of course, which was deserved. You gotta look at the body behind yourself from time to time. You gotta look up, trying to spot possible drones. You gotta also look down in front of you in order to avoid booby traps and not step into a pile of shit, or for example a branch that can produce a sound. And you gotta also watch your sector, because when the squad moves, everybody has his or her sector to watch. And also is preferred to count the pairs of steps in order to understand what kind of distance you've already made. So when you walk and you constantly watch the body in front of you, turn around and check out the guy behind you, look at your sector, um, monitor the sky, monitor the ground, and count the pairs of steps. Basically, this is what you are occupied at all times. It's necessary to observe everything around you, because you can miss, for example, a signal given to you by the guy in front of you, right? Um, of course, it's better not to produce any sound at all, not to talk. It's kind of something that you gotta get used to. So it's again, it's a science, I would say. It's like a typical skill that you should acquire as an infantryman, as a private. It's very important. Um, uh, no, we don't have Ellie today, but maybe she will join us a bit later. Okay. Speaking about our trainings again as a private, um, we had really interesting experience. For example, when we had battalion tactical exercise, company tactical exercise with shooting. They were cool, but battalion tactical exercise on the level of battalion with coordination between companies, it was a completely different scale and completely different level. But the tactical field that we had, it was really cool because, for example, your platoon would move out and you have a freaking field as big as 2 kilometers by 3 kilometers. Let's imagine, right? And somewhere in that field, the targets are hidden by sergeants or by officers who decide where to put them, right? And your platoon moves out and you're moving within your squad. And then all of a sudden, you see a target somewhere in front of you and you have live ammo. So, of course, you gotta report the contact. You shout from the top of your lungs, contact, 12 o'clock, 300 meters, a group of orcs. And then you gotta react to your contact. Your squad leader tells you, like the action, he takes decision and he decides that you gotta, for example, attack or you gotta suppress the enemy while another squad attacks. So there were targets hidden all across the tactical field, and we had to eliminate them. And it was really cool because there were also positions built like trenches, and there were targets in the trenches, and we had to approach and clear the trenches. And not just approach, we had to approach in coordination with other squads. One squad would, for example, provide like support, like fire support, fire cover, and we would advance and clear those trenches. Or we could use the artillery fire, for example, to destroy the position. So it was an enormous experience that we acquired back in 2016. And we also used this experience during our military exercises with our friends from other countries, right? And it was so important. One of the basic skills, of course, is sharpshooting, because I think any instructor will tell you that in case your tactics suck, one thing that may save your ass is literally sharpshooting. If you shoot accurately, this is something that may save the situation. And there are cases when such things happened. I remember. After the tactical field, the officers would move out. They would sometimes they would order a tactical pause, right? In order to go there and you literally freeze, and they just go there and assess the situation, try to understand if like whether you're doing right or wrong. And then they would command you to continue until the mission is accomplished. And of course, in the end of every single mission, in the end of every single attack or shooting at the tactical field, we had to evacuate wounded, and we had to run a lot with wounded guys. So in the infantry, you have to carry a lot. Service in the infantry is something that probably will not make you healthier. Even though back then I was laughing because I was a sergeant, I tried to be to give a good example to the guys, which means that you have to run faster, you have to be like in front of them, showing them like how to do it properly. And my physical condition sucked balls big time since I was a young kid. So I really had to do it. I had no choice. I didn't do it because I enjoyed being like, a company sergeant. No, I didn't. I did it because I had no choice. Um, it doesn't make you healthier. I know a lot of my guys from the infantry battalion actually that had a lot of problems with their spine, with their knees, of course, and all kinds of stuff, all kinds of related issues. Um, if you want to destroy your health, I can tell you how to do it in the infantry easily, but it will still take you like a couple of years of good service, good physical condition. You will not feel a lot of pain, and you will not face a lot of health problems very fast in the observable future. It will only show up after years, but still, it's kind of fun. And another thing that the boobs, there were boobs, only they were like man boobs. So if you're in the army, you can see a lot of boobs, but not the boobs that you would like to see, okay? The different kind of boobs. Um, oh, we have Ali here. Ali, hello. Yeah, yeah, of course. We talked about those as well. So, long story short, infantry, private, not a lot of responsibility, a lot of hard work, a lot of harm to the health, including situations when you can be shot or wounded by shell fragments or literally jump into a foxhole while wearing all your equipment and damage your knees because you didn't land properly. Or like my stupid, oh my god, I will show you this. This one is when we were already promoted to sergeants, and they sent us to this school for sergeants, and behind me you can see BTR-3. That was the kind of vehicles that we operated, even despite the fact that we had Cossacks and Vartas and other vehicles. But the BTR is my love and hate, and behind my back you can see the hatch for a commander right above my beret, right? To the right from this hatch is the hatch of a vehicle driver. So why did we learn to operate BTRs as sergeants is because we were sergeants in the mechanized brigade, which means that every squad leader, every platoon sergeant, every company sergeant, they should have their own armored vehicle. They should know how to operate it, how to operate the turret, how to command it, how to drive it, everything. So we learned all that. And my friend, I will join you. I will even join you with my vape. Sorry for not having a proper cigarette, but I'm not smoking cigarettes for quite a while already. I think I already told you this story when our brigade is preparing to move out. And we were moving out to Verkhnyoturetsk. We were moving out from Bakhmut to Verkhnyoturetsk for some kind of filtration operation, okay? And as a company sergeant, I'm running around like crazy and making sure that the soldiers are ready, they have necessary equipment, the sergeants are ready, the vehicles are ready, and we have enough ammo, and that my officer is ready as well, okay? Because I'm a mom. I'm a mom. I gotta make sure that all the boys are well fed and ready and peed and pooped and did all their things and ready to go. And I go to my driver. He's like, yeah, everything's fine. The BTR is running. Everything's okay. And I make 100 meters to my location, to my home, right? Where I meet my officer, and my officer says, what the fuck has just happened to your driver? I'm like, I just talked to him like 1 minute ago. He's like, well, he broke his fingers. I'm like, what? I just talked to him. He's like, that's the freshest information. And I returned back. So what happened was this dude was moving his vehicle from point A to point B. And there was this, like this bump on the road. And he was, while driving, he was holding the rim of this hatch, the edge of this hole, right, of the BTR. And he didn't lock the hatch in the upward position, the vertical position. There is a lock. When you open it, it clicks, it's locked. He didn't do that. So when the BTR went over this bump, the hatch did this briefly, only faster, and his fingers turned the other side. They kind of, he could wave his hand like this after that. Okay, it was painful, but he was happy because he went straight to hospital, and I believe we didn't see him after that during that deployment. So I had to find somebody to replace this dude, but of course, because I was a commander of this BTR, I drove it as well. But it was a good reminder that in the army, and this is again very, very important to remember, in the army, you will never, ever operate within a unit of well-trained, well-motivated, ideologically experienced and indoctrinated commandos. No. In most cases, you will have like a group of 100 dudes. 10 of them would be Rambo commandos, perfect future sergeants. Approximately 30% of them would be like, well, okay, like good guys. And approximately 30% of them would be like the worst, oh my God, the worst people you would go to the trench with, okay? And some of them would be like 40 years old, some of them would be like 58 years old and would not be able to run much, but some of them would have some kind of diseases or conditions that would not allow them to do some kind of heavy job. But you have a group of guys, different age, different region, different oblast, different language, different mentality, basically. And as a sergeant, you have to manage those people. You have to make sure that they can all perform combat tasks. They will never be 100%, the guys of the same height, same eye color, same muscles, and same courage. No. Uh, there will never be guys that never lie, never betray, that are never afraid of, going on a deployment, that never drink, that don't do drugs, that don't drink and drive, that are not crazy. In the unit, there are all sorts of people. And as a sergeant, it's your responsibility to deal with them all and make sure that your unit can perform combat tasks. That is one of your biggest responsibilities. You may be mad. You may go to your officer and say, "Officer, please, uh, can we remove this dude? Can we send him to a fucking prison because he does all kinds of crazy shit?" And the officer will tell you, "Do your job better, Sergeant." And you have to go and find a way how to deal with those people. So this is your responsibility as a sergeant to make sure that your unit, regardless of who this unit consists of, can perform its tasks. And it's extremely hard thing to do sometimes because, oh my God, I found myself operating such skills of communications that I never thought I had. Literally, I found myself in a situation once when a drunk soldier, fucking huge, he was like, oh my God, he was known for attacking an officer, like later, okay? Um, really aggressive. And he was in my company and he was drunk. He decided to get drunk, okay? There are such, you will face such situations in real life sometimes. And we had to literally do something to him. And he was really aggressive and looking for a fight. And though, I know some boxing, okay, but that dude was literally, okay, we were different levels completely. I had to find proper words to persuade a drunk, angry dude that I would shout at. Otherwise, I had to persuade him to go to the tent with me. We would have a cigarette together. And you gotta use all kinds of manipulation in order to convince people. I never thought I would have to do that, but again, it's such an experience that you will probably not face in any other organization. Oh my God, there are so many situations. Um, the coolest thing comparing, for example, Ukrainian army or any NATO army and the Muscovian army is that in Russia, they absolutely have nothing like that. They have sergeants that basically do the same shit as all other soldiers. The only difference is like the patch, right? But generally, they're like privates like everywhere else, and they don't do shit. Officers do all that, which is good for us because Russian officers are completely overloaded with tasks, with their daily, with like papers and everything else, and that's why they don't care about their personnel at all, which again is a work of a sergeant. It's really good for us, and they will never change. Ah, so we went to this school for sergeants. That one you probably saw. That's me and Bogdan getting deployed. And again, deployment is a such a pain in the ass. If you are a private, okay, no responsibility at all. You just do what you're told to do, right? Tomorrow, 6 a.m. or like 7 a.m., you gotta be at the base. you go, okay, and you go and freaking drink all night with your buds because tomorrow you're going on a deployment, and say goodbye to your girl and to your wife and to your lover and to your mistress and to your mama, and like in the morning the only thing that we require from you is to show up at the base at like 7 a.m. Okay, but as a sergeant, you stay there overnight to make sure that the equipment is prepared, to make sure that your supply sergeant gives out the helmets for your company. We had polski helm, kurwa, mask pole, I think, those Kevlar helmets that we used a lot during our trainings at the training camp and stuff like that. But because they are Kevlar helmets, they have kind of expiration dates. So you gotta go to the supply sergeant and make sure that he gives you the fresh helmets for your guys, and you have to prepare them and make sure that you have like all the necessary ammunition, everything's ready. Um, so you have to stay there overnight, and basically you don't have to sleep at all. You shouldn't, right? And if you are a good sergeant, of course, you have like your squad leaders helping you, right? Or your platoon sergeants helping you to prepare everything for the march, for the deployment. Uh, which means that you have to take this blame for not letting them stay with their families, say goodbye to their wives and girls and mamas. They have to stay with you overnight at the base, and you are also not alone there, because there are also like your officers, so your lieutenant or your captain is there as well, also not seeing his family much because he's finishing his paperwork and he has like another briefing with the battalion commander or with the brigade commander. He briefs you, or the chief of staff. So it's kind of tough. And it requires you a lot of dedication. It requires you to forget that you have family at all, right? Um, it also requires you to cope that your wife, for example, will call you and tell you that you are an asshole because you're going on a deployment. She and her, like your kids, will not be seeing you for months, if not a year. And you feel angry, of course. You feel this conflict with your family, with your sergeant. Um, it's hard, and it doesn't fit everybody. But at the same time, can you withstand it? Of course you can. We all did that. So that is another reason why you have sergeants, why you have military psychologists there. That one. We are getting deployed at the positions after the army guys at the Svetlodarsk Bulge, I believe 2017. Around this time, by the way, April, May, something like that. And we look kind of, I'm not even sure how to call this. Guys, help me. How to call this expression on our faces. I don't know why we were so mad. It's probably either we didn't eat well or something. Anyways, anyways. Um, so I was a sergeant, a company sergeant for several years until approximately 2018, when I was assigned to a recon platoon for a while. For a while, I served in a recon platoon until I was being commissioned as an officer because I had higher education and because I had I graduated, I had master's degree in communications. I was offered a position of a press officer, and because our other press officer got transferred to a different position in a different unit, I decided, okay, I can do that because I have knowledge, I have experience, I have skills. This is something that I did my whole life. And so I became a Unterlieutenant. How to call this? Like the tiniest officer. Like you have lieutenant, and then you have, oh my God, second lieutenant or junior lieutenant, Unterlieutenant. Okay, the tiny lieutenant. I became a tiny lieutenant, and I became a press officer. Then I realized how cool it was because not only I could like use my skills properly, the skills that I acquired as a civilian, right, during those years of work in projects of USAID, World Bank Group, television, and things like that. But I could use those skills properly. And my task was, of course, to make reports about our brigade, all sorts of communication with media and journalists, etc., etc. Life as an officer is a completely different level because you have so many tasks, so many paperwork, you have so much responsibility. And I spent a lot of time with our officers in the infantry. I don't know when they sleep. I just don't know where they find that strength to go on every day because they don't sleep, they don't see their families, they don't live, they work all the time. The paperwork, the staff, the headquarters, which gives them tasks and more paperwork. And then there are guys. So they have to train their guys as well, not personally, of course, but they have to spend time with their sergeants, brief. I don't know when they live because even as sergeant, I think I had more personal time than our officers. And I realized that when I became an officer myself. Even though I was able to do what I could do, in the army, I could use my camera. I could go to a position with the guys. We could get shelled or shot at. We could shoot at the bad guys as well. But I was autonomous. And this is something so cool because, again, every unit is different. As a press officer, if you're able to find the same language, the same tongue with your unit commander, with your brigade commander, it's good. If you can convince your commander that what you're doing is important and that being autonomous is important, and show him the result, present him what you did, it's good. If you cannot do that and you literally find yourself being commanded, go make a picture of our gate because we painted the gate, or go and take photos of our officers for like a postcard. If you find yourself in this situation, it means that you literally suck as a press officer, my dear friend. Unfortunately, it's not for you. So I had a very good communication with the command, not only with my command, but also with that whole press service of the National Guard of Ukraine. They were amazing. There were amazing people serving there who had so many cool ideas and a lot of, I don't know, a lot of um, ideas that actually were implemented, that we used, and they worked in real life. I don't know. Again, it's not really cool to compare, for example, our brigades like to other brigades, right? In Ukrainian culture, in Ukrainian military culture, it's not a really good thing when you say that, huh, my brigade is cooler than that brigade, they suck. But I can definitely say that our press service was among the best. Let's call it this way, among the best. And our and I think that it still is. If you check out the page of my brigade, for example, it's in Ukrainian, of course, but we have like hundreds of thousands of views per video and a lot of following on Facebook. And Max, my bro, who is now in chief of press service, in charge of press service, he does extremely good job as a press officer of the brigade. Together with his team, it's just amazing. Sergey, hello, my friends. So, as an officer, you have a lot of responsibility, which doesn't mean that you can forget about fighting or you don't participate. This one, for example, was taken by Vova, my cameraman. Guys, if you follow my channel since the very beginning, you probably remember my cameraman Vova. We did several videos together. This photo was taken in, I believe, 2019 or 2020 at a position at the Svitlodarsk Bulge when we were shooting RPGs at PDARs, at Russians, sorry. We were shooting RPGs at Russians at their position. Like, I'm not sure why it's so lit, why it's so bright, because it's not supposed to be like that, but I think it's a magic of Photoshop or of like photo camera. I don't know, but I look really cool from behind, anyways. That was the moment when we shot that RPG, and one of our guys wanted to shoot another one, and not RPG 7. I'm talking about, the tube, like Muha or something, and it didn't work. So he dropped the RPG in front of the position. If you check out, like there's like those sandbags, he dropped the RPG behind the sandbags, like in front of the position. And that was the moment when our special force operators arrived to work, to operate at our position. And they found that RPG. They were like, hey, why did you drop it here? And he takes the RPG, he prepares it properly, right, and shoots, and like everything's fine. So it was kind of cringy on our side, but it was funny nonetheless. And here we have, oh, this one is cool. That's again, guys, in the army, and especially during things like combat deployment, you sometimes have to take an additional role, right? We have a cooker who can be a machine gunner as well. We have a driver who can be an artilleryman as well. And sometimes we also have a press officer who can be a sniper as well. Marksman, let's say marksman, right? Because I also had a small experience of that in my life as well. during the combat deployments. I didn't go like Roman Trochimets. Of course, Roman Trochimets is a freaking hero and legend, 100%. I operated mostly within the position, okay? It was really cool. That is, by the way, was my one of my positions at the cemetery. It was really cool. If you're wondering why do I have such a morbid sense of humor, that is literally because I spent a lot of time on a cemetery, lying on a grave among the dead people, because you are not supposed to be afraid of dead people. You gotta be afraid of living people. And those dead people, they protected us, actually, big time. Because there were a lot of graves, a lot of tombstones, and they would provide us with additional protection from things like shell fragments, you know, and it was kind of interesting experience. That was one of the moments when our guys, our recon guys, went to the forest, and they asked several guys to provide them cover, and I was making sure that nothing bad happens to them, and I was monitoring the forest in case the Russians decide to go kamikaze. So it was interesting. It was interesting. Again, when you are lying there with a rifle, with a sniper rifle, and pretending that you are a kick-ass sniper, and of course you gotta make sure that you blend with the environment. That's why you have at least a net that would mask you and blend you a bit. And of course, you gotta stay completely frozen on the same spot. You're not supposed to move much, because this is the reason why you survive. If you don't move, you survive. And then you can hear someone shooting like AGS, the automatic grenade launcher, and the grenades land on the cemetery. And you're asking yourself, why are they shooting at the cemetery where you are lying like between two graves, you know, comfortably, and observing your sector? Why do they do that? Do they do that because they exposed you, because they found you, or do they do that just for fun? Or do they do that, you know, for any other reason? Or because there's a drone, right? And they see somebody and try to eliminate. What's the reason? And you gotta also ask yourself, what decision should I take? Because if they continue shooting, they will most probably get you, and you will optimistically get wounded, pessimistically become a 200. What decision should you take at this very moment? Should you run away, or should you just stay at the same spot um, without moving? What do you prefer? It's like a good question to ask yourself in such situations. Or when they start shooting like a heavy machine gun, like DSHK, again, somewhere like in your direction, or UTOS, and you're asking yourself, why do they do that? You constantly trying to understand the situation. Why do they decide to take like a heavy machine gun and start shooting in your direction? Is it because they found you, or there is like a different reason? Because you don't know the whole picture. Usually you have like your sector, you have a task, and you don't really understand what's going on like over there, for example. That is an interesting experience. Then again, the HOSTOMEL happened, the full-scale Russian invasion. I saw not only military firefighters of my brigade shooting the Russian helicopters, but I also saw, like, military psychologists, officers, of course, like lieutenants, captains, shooting the Russian helicopters, chief of staff, like the deputy commander, shooting from a window at Russian helicopters. I saw a financial officer doing the same. And it was, again, very interesting because as an officer, you should not forget that you also carry a rifle and a handgun, which I'm not proud of because I was carrying Makarov and Makarov suck balls, but you carry a rifle, and eventually there might be a situation when you would have to use it. And we faced such situation multiple times. One time in HOSTOMEL, my guys, again, Max, you know Max. Max is like, when you feel bad, you can literally go and hug Max as if he's like a teddy bear. You will feel better. I'm trying to explain that Max is a really good and positive person, right? So Max, as a press officer in places like Rubizh, for example, or Bakhmut, Rubizh, yeah, he was used in all sorts of situations. He was used as a coordinator of artillery fire, of tank and BTR fire. He was used as literally infantry to stop tank attacks. Actually, Max went through so much shit that is hard to imagine. Uh, Here, for example, they're bringing bodies of our guys to the morgue, and those bodies are not complete, of course. And of course, before bringing them to the morgue on a car, they have to load those bodies on the car. And they do that because they're officers, because the infantry is busy with everything else. And they load the bodies, and next to the bodies, they put a box of candies for the kids who study in the school of Rubizh. And on their way to morgue, they go to school because, again, our officers, like military psychologists and that service, okay, the psychological and internal service, you know what I mean. CIMICs, civil military cooperation. So they go to school, they take the box out of the vehicle full of bodies, they give it to the school because it's a holiday, and of course they have candies to share, and then they go to morgue and bring the bodies to the morgue, and then they go to like a different place and watch the car from the remains, right? So Max went through some extremely, extremely crazy moments, right? And when I met him after that, I had to do something to rehabilitate Max. I rehabilitated Max with a lot of sushi for a whole month that we spent in Kyiv. Sushi and different yummies and playing Red Dead Redemption 2 together, because I needed to bring Max back to life. His eyes were completely lifeless and empty. He would look at you, but he would see through you and like 1,000 meters behind you, somewhere there in the different galaxy. It was kind of crazy. Um, So that's just a bit of my experience, and not only my experience. Again, that is literally after the fight for HOSTOMEL. We moved to Kyiv, and we were expecting the Russian paratroopers, Russian ninjas, jumping from helicopters on our heads every single day. And as an officer, of course, I would have to uh, go on shifts as well. All right. Because we didn't have too many men, so we had to use everyone available. What's that one? Oh yeah, that's when we were recording a video with Vova, with my cameraman, and after that we're literally sitting there smoking, chatting. Those first days were, I cannot say that they were like craziest. I cannot say that they were toughest, probably. I think the toughest days or moments of my life were probably in Spirna, not far from Chasiv Yar, back when it was back when the Russians were still a bit further from us, and we were shelled a lot because we went to the position with artillerymen, and we spent several days there. We were shelled a lot, and I don't really like, I don't find myself panicking in situations involving shooting and a lot of shooting, because generally I understand situation well, and I shoot well. Okay, I'm not bragging, it's a fact. But when we're talking about artillery, this stuff is something that I cannot explain it, but I don't like artillery very, very much. And those moments when you sleep next to the rest of the guys in a tiny bunker, and of course your position is located in like a tree line, and there's a bunch of tree lines there in your sector, in your area, and where are the guys located? Of course, they are located anywhere in the tree lines. Artillery, guys, journalists, anyone. And where do the Russians shoot? They shoot at the tree lines. They use their drones to strike those tree lines when they identify either a position or like a howitzer or something else. Or they literally use a lot of artillery fire striking those tree lines, for the prophylactic reason. And when you are in the bunker and you can hear artillery fire and shells landing, I'm not sure like how far away, because they were literally shelling our tree line, but landing kind of close, and then closer, and then a bit more closer, because you can tell that the ground starts like falling down from the ceiling, from those logs, and it gets closer and closer and closer. Subconsciously you kind of can start panic, like if you think a lot about it, like if you let the panic overwhelm yourself and think like, oh shit, what if, um and this is something I have. This is something that I learned about myself over the years, that I hate artillery. Situations like in Hostomel, I don't know, like situations like in Mariinka in 2015, yeah, but situations when you are literally hopeless in a hole and getting shelled, other guys, they're different. Other guys, they don't really care about artillery. they feel more anxious about, for example, like close contact, right? I feel anxious about artillery. That's my thing. Bogdan, for example, doesn't care about artillery at all. He doesn't care about close quarter battle. This is something he can do with his eyes closed, but he's afraid of landmines, and for a reason, because our guys, the guys that we served together in the recon platoon, a lot of them unfortunately lost their legs, their feet due to the mines. So that is another thing. Oh my God, I was speaking non-stop for like 1 hour, 40 minutes, and literally I haven't answered any of your questions. Please let me know if you have some, because I would. Was it newly created? Yeah, so I joined this brigade probably like 3 months after its creation. I passed the selection program. It was created in 2015 in summer, and I believe like November or December. I believe it was November. I passed the selection program. The National Guard wasn't created as more reliable and loyal force. It was created in Ukraine. It has a long history. So in the beginning, it was created in early 90s as elite force. Then in 2000s, our pro-Russian president Kuchma decided to close it, to shut it down, because his Russian masters didn't want Ukraine to have strong army, obviously. Then 2014, we restored the National Guard because we needed a lot of manpower instantly. And it was a good opportunity, for example, for volunteers coming from the Revolution of Dignity, from the Maidan, to join army instantly and get deployed to the Donbass, where they were needed the most. So National Guard wasn't like a loyal elite force like Praetorian Guard, no, not in the beginning. But later it turned into a force that can be comparable a bit with the American National Guard, but more with like Italian Carabinieri, I would say. Those guys are pretty much like us. We have mostly same tasks and mostly same weaponry, I would say, mostly same equipment. We are kind of like American National Guard, but in the United States, National Guard is supervised by the Ministry of Defense, the Department of Defense. In Ukraine, it's Ministry of Interior. It's a different thing. It can be explained with the fact that there are different units of the National Guard and they have different tasks. There is a unit of the National Guard that provides diplomatic security and protection. For example, guys that protect and defend embassies. And of course, they don't have tanks. Then there are guys who help police in terms of riot control or in terms of public security, right? So they literally like gendarmes in France, in the air, in the distant areas, right? Not always in the distant areas in terms of Ukraine, but in France, it's like if there's distant area, you can see gendarmes a lot there. They do their job. In Ukraine, they help patrol police to patrol, right? Then there are operative brigades like mine. That was literally created as a professional mechanized brigade. And this brigade had tanks, anti-air systems, artillery, multiple launch rocket systems as well, all sorts of stuff. We had a company of engineers, we had a recon company, the Spetsnaz, the Ninja, the Special Force guys. Okay, so they are very, very different. There is a unit of the National Guard, like Bogdan's, when he got transferred from my brigade to his brigade in Chernobyl. He was transferred to the specific Special Force unit that was responsible for protecting nuclear objects, like NOx, the Special Force unit that is responsible for protecting the nuclear objects in Europe. They did the same in Ukraine. So there are different units, they do different tasks. And sometimes those tasks overlap with the tasks of, for example, armed forces of Ukraine. Sometimes they overlap with the tasks of law enforcement in Ukraine. So they are different and similar at the same time. How is Bogdan doing? So he's doing absolutely fine. He looks like a sexy macho man. He has great genetics. Unfortunately, I don't have that. That's why I envy Bogdan every single day, but he's doing well. What's up with the balaclava fetish? Uh, what's up with the balaclava fetish? Oh my God. When you're wearing a helmet, you you can wear it on your empty head, right? I'm talking about like naked head. But it's better if you're wearing it on something. And of course, in summer, it's not really cool to wear a hat and the helmet on top of it. It's better to wear something thin. And we found that balaclavas, especially those balaclavas, because they were given to us by some of the volunteers, I think, they were good. They were thin, you could breathe through them, and in case there's a lot of dust in the air, they also help you a bit. So balaclavas are good. I like balaclavas, and especially in the winter. Oh my God, in the winter you cannot imagine yourself without wearing balaclava, especially in Ukraine, where sometimes temperatures in Luhansk steppe can decrease to like minus 30 easily. I gotta find that video that I made in 2016 when I was wearing a like this Arabic scarf like kufia, something like that, and I exhale, and the steam from my mouth rises up and accumulates on my eyelashes. And when I blink, my eyes stick, like my eyelids stick together instantly, they freeze together. It was so cool. It was something I have never experienced in my life. Being in war, look, my friends, the scariest thing during a deployment or a mission is when you don't know how to react, when you don't know what to do. When you have at least basic understanding of what to do, it's not that scary. One example from life. Okay, after the Battle of HOSTOMEL happened, we arrived to that friendly unit where we were based for a while, and we arrived there with a lot of staff officers and a lot of conscripts from the supply battalion, because all of our guys, as I already mentioned, they were deployed in Donbass. They were fighting there like crazy, and we were in Kiev, and it was like the first day's siege of Kiev, all that shit. And I'm there with my officers from like there are several military psychologists, officers responsible for internal relations, civil military cooperation, and things like that. And one of the sergeants bring a soldier, a young conscript, to the colonel and says, "This soldier is scared to death. He's so much afraid." And the colonel starts talking to him, but not like I want to criticize the colonel, you know, but generally speaking, when you see a young guy who is scared of unknown, generally when you start telling him about heroic struggle of Ukrainian people and being proud of defending your country and things like that, might not always work, okay? So the soldier is just standing there and he receives all this information. And I understand that I should probably help the colonel. And when the soldier finishes, when this lecture stops and the soldier walks out, I follow him and I go, "Listen, dude, what is your biggest fear? What are you afraid of?" He says, "I'm literally afraid to die every second because I don't know if like missile comes here or if Russian paratroopers start landing and try to capture this base. This is something I'm afraid. I'm afraid to die. I'm afraid of like seeing the combat. I'm afraid that I can die any minute." I say, okay, first thing, missiles or bombs, because back in those days, the Russian airplanes, they were still flying over Kiev from time to time. They were intercepted often. Their pilots sometimes get captured, sometimes get shot. There were cases, by the way, and I talked about it, about the Russian pilots that ejected and their parachutes didn't work. So they would literally crash and become better. And I say, look, if there is an air alert, what do? We go to the bomb shelter, right? So in case the missile strikes, there's a high chance that you will survive, right? Right. Um, it cannot happen that Russian spaceship would just emerge from the air and either shoot you with lasers or drop Russian star troopers on your head, because it doesn't happen in real life. In real life, you gotta understand that some things may happen to you, and you gotta understand how to react to those things. So when there's air alert and big bad missile is coming, you calmly go down to the bomb shelter, you listen to what your sergeants say, and basically you will survive. If there is an attack on our base, what do? I ask him. He's like, "I don't know." I go, "That's the problem. You gotta know what to do. Talk to your sergeant, ask him. Maybe there is like," and again, those were first days when the guys didn't even know much what to do. They didn't have any plan, right? What to do in case of attack. The guys that we were stationed with, they had plan, and we were literally just in process of being attached to this unit. So I go, "Listen, ask your sergeant, where is your position? Where do you go in case of an alert? What do you do? Where is your sector?" And when he tells you, when he shows you your sector, you gotta go there. If it's a window, and he shows you that your sector is from there to there. You gotta sit there and make sure that you can shoot conveniently from your position. Okay, you gotta make sure that you can see everything in your sector. You gotta check out where the possible enemy can possibly take cover, and get acquainted with your position. That's literally it. And in case some emergency happens, you know where to run, you know what to do, you will be confident, and you know that whatever fuck shows up, emerges in your sector, dies. That's it. And he is like, shit, I never thought about it. I'm like, go, bro, go. And he went to his sergeant, and because he became acquainted with the situation, he understood what to do, how to act, what's his actions in case of big bad shit happening. It turned him from a person that was scared of unknown into a person that was still scared, but already a bit less, because he knew what to do. Russians kind of do have spaceships, okay, but they don't exist. How easy is to shoot a RPG and hit something with it? Oh my God. If we're talking about RPG 7, freaking, if you hit something at 300 meters, you're so lucky. If you hit something at 200 meters, that would probably work. I would say 200 meters is a good range. If you hit something at 100 meters or less, you can die easily from a shell fragment, which happened unfortunately to one of our guys. 300 meters, that is like, I would say, the old Soviet RPG 7, that is about the range. On the other hand, we have American-made RPGs, we call them RPG-1, and in the United States, they are called PSRL. Precision Shoulder Held Rocket Launcher, blah, blah, blah. So we have those. Those are much better because they're made from better components, better materials. You can use them from any shoulder, left or right, because Soviet RPGs were made exclusively for right-handed people, and you can also attach all kinds of shit to this RPG. So that one allows you to shoot theoretically up to 900 meters, which is insane for RPG 7. So I would say within that range. What does membership do? First of all, membership helps to run this channel because I don't have official salary. Okay, this is how this channel is running. Sometimes I'm buying additional equipment to make it work. Why my microphone is not glowing? I don't know. Simon, what happened? And also it gives you opportunity to use all kinds of cool emoji that you can find there in the chat. I think Ali can explain. How to set preferences to allow gift membership? That is a good question to Simon, because I don't really know. And speaking about Russian spaceships, I remember when I was a young kid, I watched so many Russian sci-fi movies about interstellar travels and things like that. They looked so good when I was young. But then I grew up And when I look at them, they look so cringy. I remember those Russian sci-fi movies about, like, this perfect society in the future when all the people are wearing, like, those silver uh, outfits because they live in the future. Everybody wears silver shit in the future, and they fly their cars to their job and back and things like that, and they can travel to other worlds, and everything is so cool because communism rules the earth, and they are so modern and good and polite, towards each other and things like that. And that was so cringy because when you see Russia nowadays, did you see that freaking fly that they installed in their town at the railway? Check out my recent video about the Russian freaking fly installed at the railway station. You gotta love it. When I saw that, I almost shat myself. I shit you not. Do you like Lapis Trubetskoy? I freaking love Lapis Trubetskoy. Like, everybody likes Lapis Trubetskoy. Lapis Trubetskoy, for those who don't know, is a Belarusian band. The dude, now they're called Bruto, I believe. The dude sings really cool songs. He actually wrote like an anthem for the Revolution of Dignity, Warriors of Light, and the song can also be found in Ukrainian language. So that one was extremely, extremely cool, and they're big supporters of Ukraine and Ukrainian soldiers. They are amazing. Starsky, no, no way, my friend, no way. Was Forthwell your commanding officer? Yeah, yeah. And actually, I fought him even earlier. I fought my commander in 2001 during the mass protests near the administration of president. It was 9th of March. And I was literally throwing stones at a person who later became my commander in the brigade. But at Maidan, I was fighting against uh, the deputy commander, our chief of staff. I was throwing Molotov cocktails at him, and we have great relations in the brigade. We had amazing relations with my commanders and the deputy commanders. They knew about it. I knew about them. It was really, really cool because this is Ukraine, guys. This is Ukraine. Did many cops join the army? Actually, yeah. And actually, nowadays in Ukraine, we have brigade called Loot or Fury. And this brigade literally consists of police officers, like patrol police officers, everyone who wants to fight Russians on the front line, but within the brigade of the patrol police. I don't really know how it works. I know there's a lot of my guys, but I didn't ask them how exactly this functions, because brigade means that you need to have reconnaissance, you need to have armored vehicles, tanks, artillery. How does that work in the police brigade? I have no idea, but Ukrainian cops are just so tough. Just so you could understand. Brigade called Lut or Fury, and this brigade is also it's connected to the National Guard of Ukraine, but it consists of police officers. because both police and National Guard, they're both under the Ministry of Interior in Ukraine. Did you ever shoot a Russian from that position in the cemetery? I I shot them from a different position, not at the cemetery, but in that area. And it was an interesting experience because the distance was something approximately between 300 and 500 meters. So it wasn't really far. One thing that I discovered was when the Russians would cat throw a cat in the night through the in the position through that opening, right? They would throw a cat outside to check if because if we have thermal scopes, of course we would observe their positions, and they were throwing like home pets to check out if we would shoot. That was crazy. Another story from that area was when in Zaitsevo they attached a tiny lantern to a dog, and they tied the dog to the tree. So the dog, they would imagine that the dog would attract snipers, our snipers. But of course, they made a mistake because our snipers are generally not imbeciles. They would not shoot a dog with a lantern, and most probably would not shoot an animal whatsoever. So, but we really saw that happening. Isn't it boring just laying there how to kill the time as a sniper? I think Roma Trochimets would explain you better, but um, if we're talking about snipers, you gotta have an absolutely different mentality. Boring should not exist to you if you're a sniper. I don't know. I would not be a good sniper because I'm not that person that can just literally stay in the same spot for hours without moving. I can do that, but I don't like it. I don't find joy in this. So I don't know. You gotta have a specific mentality for being a good sniper. I know that introverted people are good snipers because they don't need company. They can basically just lie down, relax, and enjoy being alone. Is it true that yeah, this is true. So during the day, the sun warms the soil and the mines that are planted in the soil. And during the night, those mines, um, so either soil or mines cool down faster. And you can see them because of the difference in the spectrum. So that is true. That is true. You can Google, by the way, yourself. I think you can still find those pictures because I saw them back in 2022. The pictures that were shot through the FPV with the thermal camera, and you can clearly see the minefields. It's not because mines um, preserve the heat, preserve the warmth, not because they stay warm longer than the soil. It's literally because there is a difference in temperature of, like between mines and the soil. And that difference is very, very obvious. It can be seen very easily. For example, when you look through the thermal scope, especially good thermal scope, um, for example, at a vehicle moving through the grass, you can see, or through the ground, you can see that it leaves the like trail behind it that disappears after a while. But because the wheels that move over the ground, they change the temperature of the ground, you can see even like the trail of this vehicle that remains there for a while, between seconds and and minutes. So you can see even that. Literally, you can press your hand against the armor and you can see it through the thermal scope as well. Have you ever played War Thunder? I haven't. I haven't actually, because I really find War Thunder too much arcade-ish. I think things like Rise of Light or IL-2 Flying Circus is much cooler, or IL-2 in general, but I would not play those games because they are made by Russians, and I literally feel sick even touching Russian things. You know, I don't feel good. Mines have a higher coefficient of thermal transmission. Something cools down faster, either soil or landmines. I cannot tell you what exactly, but something cools down faster. There are different materials. Soil is made of soil. Landmine is made either of plastic or metal body containing explosives, obviously, and um, and the detonator. So they cool down with a different speed. And this explains why you can see the spots in the soil using thermal scope. Are you sure that Trump won't sell Patriots to Ukraine? I think he won't. I think he won't because there was already information that he rejected a deal worth $50 billion when Ukraine wanted to buy weaponry from the United States. And when we were talking about the weaponry, on the first place, we're talking about things like Patriot missiles, because they are extremely crucial. Russians producing a lot of ballistic missiles, we need to be able to intercept them somehow. And Patriot missiles, the Patriot systems are perfect for intercepting things like Kinjal missiles, for example, or Iskander missiles, the ballistic missiles. So he rejected the deal, and yesterday Sergei Sumlenin, by the way, said very clearly, and he, by the way, prefers when he's called Sergei instead of Sergei. He said that it's surprising, of course, that President Trump refused such an offer that would be beneficial for the United States. We have air alert in Kyiv right now. I hope that everything's fine. Let me check. Dear friends, one moment, please. I need to know. Yeah, the drones. The drones. Well, Russian ceasefire in its glory. Is Max the cutest soldier there is? I don't know, my friend. I'm not the expert in cutiness of soldiers. I cannot tell you if he's the cutest. Uh, he's the most kawaii. I agree on that, but is he the cutest? I don't know. When was the last time you played RDR2? Uh, the last time I played RDR2 when I got tired of it. I think it was last year, probably. I think I still have it installed somewhere on my Steam Deck somewhere, but I didn't touch it either since last year. Um, Sometimes I play U-Boat, sinking, British and American ships. Sometimes I play the destroyer, the U-Boat Hunter, sinking German submarines, because I like simulators, as you probably know, and it brings me joy, makes me happier. And sometimes I play Microsoft Flight Simulator, flying a tiny helicopter over the North Rhine-Westphalen. I found that I freaking love helicopters. Flying fixed-wing airplanes in the games are so boring because you just gotta take off, turn on the autopilot, and have coffee or tea, and there is no joy at all, flying them. When you fly a helicopter, it's so much fun because you can easily crash on a helicopter if you don't pay enough attention. My good friend Yemilyan, I think he feels fine. I think he feels fine. He doesn't call me, and he doesn't reply my phone calls either. But I think he's fine. He's good. He's good friend. He's good Russian friend. Nothing bad can happen to him anymore. Are you going to continue playing music? I think I will, of course. The problem with this place is that I need to finish renovating it and I need to soundproof it because at this moment I'm using the voice isolation a lot on my microphone. Otherwise, you would hear a lot of reverberation in the room. And I need to soundproof it first. But in order to do that, I need money at least, and I need time. And I don't really have both. But when I do, I will probably do that. Have I missed any news on Fudge? Uh, just a second, please. Just a second. Oh my God, Fudge. Fudge, come on. Just a second. Don't run away, okay? Oh, come on. Yeah, here it is. Okay, share. Use the magic of high technologies to do this fast. All right, here he is. Oh my God, that's one of the recent ones. So as you can probably see, he feels fine. And snow is, by the way, that's his best, most favorite season in Ukraine because he loves swimming in snow. He loves rolling in snow. He's crazy. He has very thick fur and he enjoys snow so much. I had videos somewhere where he was literally, like crawling in the snow and eating it and spitting it. It was fun. Thank you so much for a reminder. Yes, I want to make more stories for this channel because I feel like I have abandoned it for a while, but I will do it. Also, if you want to make this process a bit faster, please give me a hint. Let me know what would you like me to tell about in one of the stories, because I have several ideas, um, but it's always good to have a lot of them. It's like, I'm like, I will tell all the stories I know about Ukraine because there's so many of those stories that I know, I remember, I can tell about, and then I'm like, what's my next video about? I don't know. I have no idea. So please guide me. Give me a hint. Will you get midnight snack after the stream and what? Thank you so much for this question because finally, after more than 2 hours and 20 minutes of the stream, we're slowly moving to the topic of food. So I have sausages that I can fry, and most probably I will fry them. I have what did I buy today? I bought perfect egg salad, and I found the place where I can buy the egg salad. It's in Aldi. I love egg salad. I as a lad, right? Um, it doesn't contain too much vinegar. That's why it doesn't taste too sour. It tastes just perfectly. On the other hand, can I make I as a lad myself? I gotta try. I gotta try because I have a lot of eggs. I hope my American viewers won't envy because I'm saying this. So I have like a whole pack, and I gotta try making it myself. I just don't know if it requires a lot of them. But I will definitely have sausage. I found the sausage that tastes exactly like home when you fry it in the microwave and literally eat it with ketchup. I have no idea what kind of magic is behind it, but it tastes like in my childhood. And I'm starting to drool right now. Um, have you tried gliding soaring? So, to tell you the truth, I live not far from like a soaring club here, in this area. I can try, but on the other hand, I want to try like hang gliding. This stuff is so cool because you don't rely almost on any like fixed wing stuff. Your body is the flying machine when you're hang gliding. That is something I would definitely try. Will you be celebrating Easter in the coming days? Yeah, I will. I definitely will. If Angelika Bayer is watching right now, you understand what it means, right? I will be celebrating Easter with my Muslim lady because why not, right? You gotta make sure that you stay operationally covered as much as possible. My friend, I don't really care, seriously. I mean, I don't really care if all of a sudden I face some kind of bearded dude who turns out to be a Kadyrovite and I meet him on the street. I lost the feeling of caring about it for some reason. Not like Not like, you know, it's really easy to find a Kadyrovite in Ukraine, much easier than in a European country, in Germany, anywhere, right? And I am not the biggest blogger, the most important person that Russians would try to eliminate. Though I accept the fact that they may try, uh, and I accept the fact that I will try to eliminate them as well if it happens. But the very feeling of, you know, being scared of such an event, an attack on the street somewhere, a poisoned tea, polonium, whatever. I don't know. We only live once. Doesn't scare me much thinking about it. I caught up with Starsky answer. My friend, I will tell you a secret. Uh, if you add the question mark in the end of your sentence, I will 100% answer your question because I have this magical ability to see the questions in the chat wherever they are. What happened with the sex tunnels? Oh my God. Still searching. I know that Johnny FD is still searching. Hasn't found yet. And I'm still searching as well. I found some, like, you know, I found several tunnels, like here in the area, back in Ukraine as well. I didn't find much sex in those tunnels, but the tunnels I have found quite a few times. McDonald's after your stream. Oh my God, really? Well, of course, in your area, I think it's still open. In my area, it's not. Are you allowed to carry a handgun for protection? Um, you can carry anything for protection, but it's not always legal. And that's why I don't carry a handgun. I would, though, if I could. Does McDonald's make borscht? No, McDonald's doesn't make borscht, even in Ukraine. But in Ukraine, you can find some of the national Ukrainian stuff in McDonald's, like potato, for example. We have some very, very specific potato that you can only buy in Ukrainian McDonald's. Have you been practicing any form of Buddhism? Not like I've been practicing, but I've been reading a lot of books on Buddhism. Uh, that is something that kept me occupied between 2006 and 2010. JD Vance. Oh, JD Vance. Oh my God. Starsky's sex tunnel is dry because he's straight. My sex tunnel. What are we talking about here? Uh, my sex tunnel is dry because I keep it in cool and dry places. That's why it preserves better. I found the tunnels of love in Ukraine. Those we have. Those we do have, by the way. we have this amazing place where like there's like a railway, like a tram rails, and it's surrounded by like trees. They form some sort of tunnel, and you can have a ride. A lot of people make selfies there. It's really, really cool. What's your favorite food? I think right food, it tastes better than the left one. How good are you in Counter-Strike? Back in the days when I was a schoolboy, we had a Counter-Strike clan, actually. We called it Phoenix, which I didn't really like because it rhymes with penis. And when I told it, when I told about it to our clan leader, he got really upset. But we had our own Counter-Strike clan. We would often have like matches against other Counter-Strike clans in computer clubs, and it was really, really cool. So I'm not bad, okay, but I'm not perfect either. And also, I didn't play Counter-Strike for many, many years. But the reason I have this tattoo, the counter-terrorist win, is because it's true. Because I served in the Special Force Police Battalion. We participated in the anti-terrorist operation in Donbass, and I believe that counter-terrorists always win. You don't want to see Starsky's sex tunnel. Of course you don't, but those who do, you can check out the my premium page at OnlyFans for premium users only. It's all sex tunnels these days. Yeah, I think so. Uh, guys, you know what? I feel extreme pleasure talking to you. Your questions are just so beautiful. On the other hand, I feel starving at this very moment. Also, I don't know why my microphone is not glowing anymore. What the hell happened? And when did it stop glowing? I gotta investigate. But, my dear friends, I think it's a good time to say good night and see you later because we're talking non-stop for like 2 hours 30 minutes, and that's a lot. Unfortunately, I don't have such legendary skills like my bro Rick the Ukrainian. He can talk 7 hours straight, and he did. But I need to fuel myself with something like either a sausage or uh, noodles, maybe, whatever. Otherwise, I will just eat myself. Okay, my dear friends, I will be saying good night and disconnecting. Operator starving is always hungry. By the way, the picture looks like one of my good friends from my first infantry company. I always have flashbacks when I look at your user picture. I will be saying good night, and I will be saying see you very, very soon. Please check out the recent announcement that we made, and also you will see those announcements emerging in the community posts of all of your favorite YouTubers that you're most probably following. We are talking about the Freedom Forge School for Content Creators. Check it out. And also, big thanks to everyone who supports Ukraine. Big thanks to our moderators. Big thanks to members of this channel, amazing people who help to keep my channel running. And big thanks to all the supporters of Ukraine, because you're doing absolutely amazing job standing for Ukraine. This is a proper thing to do. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. And as always, be safe. Goodbye, my friends. See you later.